Welcome to the full button tutorial on the 2025 Toyota Camry LE. We're going to talk about all the buttons and features on the car within driver's reach. Typically, I like to go left to right and then work my way up top. With that said, let the tutorial begin. Starting with the door, every Camry has one touch down windows all around and one touch up. So with a hard click, the window goes down hands-free in both directions. In front of those window buttons is the window lock button with a little green LED which will prevent passengers from opening those windows. To the right of that button are the two buttons for locking and unlocking the doors. And as you can see on the lock button are these two little nubs, so you don't have to look, you can just feel and you know which button locks the car. In front of that is a toggler switch that goes into the L position to toggle the left door mirror over to neutral, and then to the R position to toggle the right door mirror. Just make sure you put it back in neutral, that way if you accidentally bump this, none of the mirrors adjust. Down below there are two levers. The first lever here on my left is the recliner for the top portion of the seat, and then this lever here will actually pump my seat up or pump it down. Between my legs is a bar that I can pull up, and that allows me to slide the seat forward or back, and then when I let go, it locks right into place. Speaking of lock, be advised that the floor mats, like on all new Toyotas, do lock down to the floor. So you'll want to check when you take these out that it's actually locked into place. As long as these arrows all line up, it's locked. But if you twist it on a quarter turn, this floor mat comes right off of the floor. So just make sure it's locked so it doesn't slide under your brake pedal. Way up the dashboard, the first lever that we see is the hood release so that we can get underneath there and check our fluids. And above that, we have a panel of buttons. So starting from left to right, the A here is the automatic high beams, which will operate when your lights are in the auto mode. This button is the cancellation for the traction control and the vehicle stability control, which you may want to turn off if you park your car and it's stuck and it's snowing, it's having a hard time getting out. That can allow a little bit of wheel spin when you turn it off. The next button is the brightness to the speedometer gauge or cluster. So that's a little speedo with a light bulb. All you have to do is push this, and then on the speedometer you'll see a little bar that shows you how bright that display is. And then over here is the trunk button. We no longer have to hold it, you just push it real quick and the trunk opens right up. Nice little upgrade from the previous gen. And lastly is the locking gas door lever. So we push this button here and it unlocks the gas door and you can pop it right open. To the right of the driver's button pad is a lever that you pull down and it unlocks the steering column so that you can telescope or raise and lower the wheel. Once you get to the right spot, just push it all the way back up and your wheel is locked in place. Speaking of the steering wheel, we will touch these buttons, but first I'm going to start with the stalks that are behind it. Starting with the left stalk, this is obviously the turn signal stalk because it always has been on Toyotas. Might not be obvious, but this little notch tells you what lighting position we're in. So the light bulb means that this is the light button. The notch tells you where you are. So down on the first selection is DRL off. That means daytime running lights off. This means your car will have no exterior lights at all. The next button here is auto. So this is going to be in the automatic system, which is when the car senses when it's dark, like you're going through a tunnel or it's nighttime, and it'll kick on the main beams. It'll work the automatic high beam system, and the interior buttons will light up for you as well. The next is parking lights. So this will give you dim exterior lights in the front, your regular taillights, and your buttons will light up. This is great for when you're parked and you want people to be able to see you so that they don't hit you. And this is the main headlights. So say you want to override the auto system and you want all the lights on all the time, you can do that. For example, if it's raining during the day, snowy, misty, or foggy during the day, or it's just like really sunny and you don't want your car to disappear in the shadows, great option to have. Next stop operates the wiper blades and the washer fluid. So if you pull this towards you, it's going to wash the windshield and it'll wipe 3 times. Now we are in the off position, so if I push it down once, it's going to go into intermittent, once again for low, and once again for high. So just to show you again, this is off, this is intermittent, which I can change how often they go, low constant, and high constant. Steering wheel itself does not have any buttons behind it, so there's 2 pads, one on the left and one on the right. Starting with the left button pad top to bottom, we have the back button here. We have the phone button for answering and hanging up calls. We have the selector button, which will work with the back button. These are going to select or go back on the menus, which are in the MID. That stands for multi-information display. The arrows go side to side and up and down to go through the icons or the menu pages in the MID, which we'll do soon. Then I have the volume toggler for up and down. And then I have the voice commands button. So if I push this once quickly, it'll operate the Toyota voice commander. If I push and hold, it's going to operate Siri or the Google Assistant. On the right side of the steering wheel, these buttons more operate with the cruise control system and a couple other options. So this button here is actually going to operate the cruise control. That's going to get you started once you're moving. This button is going to activate your lane tracing assist system, which is part of Toyota Safety Sense. That will keep you in the center of your lane and even give you a little bit of steering input while you're driving if your hands are off the wheel. We have the resume and cancel button for the cruise control and the mode for the cruise control. So this car comes with the old school steady state cruise, but you can change it to the dynamic radar cruise control with this button here. So you'll see on the MID screen, there's a little picture of a car with an arrow. That's the adaptive cruise control. If I push it again, it'll go back to the constant speed cruise control, which is the old school. Of course, I can switch it back so you can pick which one you like. Now remember, the adaptive cruise control is going to brake and accelerate on its own for you, so you can change the following distance here. And what's great with the new iteration of Toyota Safety Sense is that the display for this is always showing on the screen right over there. When I push the button, you'll see those little gray bars go up and down, so you can change the following distance sensitivity at any time with the Camry. I can increase speed or decrease speed with the plus and minus. Then we have a couple music options here. So this is just your seek and track for the songs. Then we have the mode button, which will go through AM, FM, Bluetooth, Sirius. If you push and hold this button, it'll actually pause and mute the music. On to the Speedo Cluster and MID. So looking at it at first glance, it's an easy reader. It looks like there's a lot going on, but we will go over it. Starting with the left, the notches for the temperature. This will let you know if the car is running a little hot or cold, or if you're up to operating temperature. But the most important symbol on the car is the green ready symbol. This means that your vehicle is ready to drive. When you start a hybrid, you're not going to hear the engine necessarily, so you want to look for that ready symbol. There's more information on the hybrid system in my attached video in the description down below. It's called Crash Course Hybrids. Do be sure to check that out in the links down below. But yes, you want to check for the ready symbol to make sure your car is on and ready to drive. On the right side, we have the notches for the fuel level. There's even a little arrow there to let you know what side your gas door is on in case you forget. In red, we have park. That means the parking brake is activated, which is an electronic parking brake. And we have the little symbol here for the seatbelt because I'm not wearing my seatbelt since I'm parked. We have the time on the top. There's a couple symbols over here. The top left one with the arrow there is like we talked about. That's the adaptive cruise control, so that's ready to roll once we're moving. Our lane trace assist is that little car with the lane lines on the sides of it. That's ready to be active and help us stay in our lane center. And below is the lane departure alert, which is part of the Toyota Safety Sense. That will actually beep and steer me back in my lane if I'm going out of it. So now that we've kind of looked at the sides, let's look at the top here. We have the outside temp. On the bottom, we have the total miles of the car. On the bottom right is our range based on our calculated fuel mileage. And then we discuss these. We have the time and the little symbols here. So now we have the tachometer, which is the hybrid version of the tach, which will show you basically if you're driving in more of a economy style driving, like economically. If you're flooring it, it's going to go into power, and it'll dip down when you take your foot off the throttle for charging. There is a way to change this display, which we'll get into next, but in the middle we also have the digital readout, and we have P for park right over here. So you'll see if I go into reverse or drive, I don't even have to look down at the shifter. It tells me right on the display. Once I put it back into park, within a few seconds that parking brake will light up. See? So it disengages, and it'll re-engage within a couple seconds once I park it, so that's really nice. You'll also see these two red bars pop up. That indicates that I'm stepping on the brakes, and it's showing me that both my brake lights are working. So that's a really nice thing to see. You can see that also lets you know when the car's brake lights are on, when it's using the adaptive cruise control or any of the safety systems. So if you can't really feel but you're wondering if the car is braking, it shows you right there what the car is doing. So nice to see at a glance. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the MID. So we're using the up and down arrows on the steering wheel to start with these different menus. You'll see the gray menus on the side there. We have the leaf menu, which is the eco menu, the navigation assist, music, vehicle information, settings, and warnings / messages. So starting with the leaf menu, which is the eco menu, you'll see these little circles on the bottom. Those show you how many pages are available to look at. So from left to right, we have our trip average, Don't judge this, it's a brand new car that's barely been driven. I can hold OK to reset that. That's the OK button on the steering wheel. We have our eco score, which is nice to see. So it shows us different information about our cruising, how much we're stopped, our eco zone, like our throttle response, and a score. Here's our driving ratio. So it's showing you how much, what percentage of our time is driving in EV mode, which is really cool to see, and the total time that the car was on. Going down to the next, we have the driver assist / navigation menu. So this is gonna be an interactive color changing display with what the Toyota Safety Sense system is doing. Specifically the adaptive cruise control and the proactive driving assist, which is a system we'll dive a little deeper into momentarily, but the proactive driving assist is a system that will give you steering input and braking while you're driving to help you. And this is going to change colors between white, green, and yellow, depending on what it's sensing and doing. Green will basically mean that it's in a good range, yellow is going to be kind of out of bounds, and then white is going to be when it's changing. So moving to the next page, we have the navigation. So this is the compass. It's going to tell you what street you're driving on. Just to dive a little bit deeper, because I know some of you will ask, here's a little table that kind of shows you what those symbols are going to do. So you have the white, green, and the yellow. The yellow will flash. Shows you the different symbols here on the lane display and what those mean. And by the way, this is the quick reference guide. This is a great book that I want you to also check out in addition to this video. This comes with the car if you purchase it. But another thing I want to mention that really the book helps you see better than me explaining is the lane change assist, which is right over here. So with the lane change assist, it's actually going to let you know when the lane is clear, and it's going to assist you with that. So there are some color changes that are going to show over here, especially with the blue arrow and the white line. So while you're driving this vehicle, I won't be able to demonstrate every single one of these options, but this table is going to really help you understand if you purchase the vehicle and you're wondering what those color changes are. But let's continue the tutorial. We left off on the compass. Moving down next is the audio menu, so I can push OK and I can change the source. I'm not going to play any music just because of copyright issues with YouTube typically when you start playing music. Next is the vehicle information page. I want to start in the left circle here. So the left page, we have the trip distance and time. So the total amount of distance driven and the time that the vehicle was started. We have trip A, unique information here, and trip B. So this is very specific information about the trips, which is really cool to see. The energy monitor. This shows you what the hybrid system is doing. So right now we're just kind of chilling, getting our AC and display off of the battery, as you can see there with the blue notches. Toyota people are used to seeing a bigger version of this on the infotainment center, which is the radio screen. They've taken that out. So bit of a bummer, but I kind of understand why, because that big screen can be quite distracting. So I suspect that's why Toyota took it out. But you'll see some different arrows here. So while we're driving in electric mode, you'll see the arrows power either the all-wheel drive system or the front-wheel drive system. If the engine turns on, we'll see some arrows either powering the battery or powering the wheels. And then while braking, if the regen braking is picking up energy, you'll see the brakes collecting energy and sending it back into the battery. So that's really cool to see at a glance. And the last page here on the vehicle information menu is the individual tire pressure, which I personally love to see at the base level. Next is one of the biggest menus on the MID, the settings menu. So for settings, this is going to go through the settings of all the different safety sense systems and additional stuff. We're going to have to hold the OK button to change some of those settings. So let's begin. The first one highlighted in blue is the lane departure alert system. If I hold OK, I can change a lot of different settings here. So I can turn it on and off. I can change the alert options from vibration to beep. I can change the timing from earlier to default. Next is the BSM, which is blind spot monitor. I can turn it on and off, or I can change the support timing, the brightness, and the buzzer. So if I don't want it to buzz, I can turn that off, but it's really nice to see a buzzer added on. But if you're not a fan of the buzz, you can kill it. Next is the PCS, the pre-collision system. So that's a little picture of a car hitting another car there. If I push and hold OK, we can change the warning timing or turn the system on or off. Next is the PDA, the Proactive Driving Assist. That is the system that I mentioned earlier that gives you steering input and deceleration while you're driving. as it senses different things. So if I hold OK, I can change the sensitivity. I can turn on or off the steering assist, and I can turn on or off the deceleration assist to customize that system to work for me. Next is the rear cross traffic alert. This is going to be 4 quick beeps repeatedly when the vehicle senses that there's movement behind you while you're in reverse. That works with the blind spot monitor system, so you'll see those blind spot lights strobing when it senses movement. If I hold OK, I can change the volume to that. And next is the Safe Exit Assist, which I mentioned before. So this will actually beep using the blind spot monitor system, and I believe strobe the blind spot light on the side that you're exiting when it senses there's cars coming when you're trying to get out of the car or about to get out of the car. So I can just turn that on or off. And notice that little orange warning light is showing when you turn it off, just to let you know, hey, that's an important system that you shut off. Next is road sign assist. This is going to read the speed limit signs. You can change what kind of notifications that you get when you're speeding. The notification level, there it is. We can change when it notifies us if we're speeding a little bit. Working our way to the end here, we have vehicle settings. So holding OK opens up a couple different options. The brake suggestion we can turn on and off. That's when the Camry senses with the sway warning system that you're tired, and it'll let you know to take a break. The dynamic radar cruise control, aka the adaptive cruise control. I can change the acceleration sensitivity, turn on and off the guide messaging, which we discussed in that quick reference guide. I can change the curve speed reduction. So you can really customize the system to work for you. The tire pressure warning system has some advanced settings, which is really nice to see, especially at the base level. So I can reset stuff, do my tire rotation. I can do specific pressures, setting by current pressure, and even change the units. Continuing down, we have the scheduled maintenance, which we can reset here. The oil maintenance, the rear seat reminder, which reminds you to check your back seats, and the stoplight display, which are those red lights on the bottom. So if I turn that off, I'm not distracted when I push the brake, or the brake activates, and here it's on so I can see. So if that gets a little distracting, you can kill that if you want to. Next up, the last highlighted item, the meter settings. So I can change my language. Not a ton of options, but we're getting there. Hopefully they add some more as time goes on. I can change the units. The meter style, so check this out, guys. If I go to casual, it changes the style here. And then sporty, that's definitely a little bit more dramatic. Back to smart. Below meter style, we have the dial type. So I can change this to a tachometer, which is really cool if you just want to see the tach, the exact engine RPM timing. I do recommend leaving it at the hybrid system because it really helps you increase the chance that you're driving to save gas. Here's what it looks like off, which is a really empty, lonely looking screen. I'll leave it factory. The EV on and off, so that's the little green guy here on the left. This badge comes on when the car's an EV, just to let you know real quick at a glance that the engine's off. So if that gets a little distracting, you can kill it. Here we can change the information that shows. We can turn things on and off. So we're getting to a point now where we can start consolidating what the MID even shows. See that? We can start changing what even is available to see so that things are a little more condensed. Pop-up display. So that's going to be like banner alerts on your phone. If certain things have a banner alert / pop-up that you don't like and they get annoying every time you do them, you can manually turn those off and customize that display, which is really nice to see. You can also turn the MID off and have just our speedometer here. And I can go back to default settings. Last but not least on the MID section of the tutorial is that messages page. So like we saw before when we turned off the PDA, that lit up orange and the icon stayed down there. If there's any other things it wants to tell you, it's going to get stored in there and stay lit up orange. Say your tire pressure is low, the car needs maintenance, there's something wrong, it's going to store it right there. And if you're connected, which you should be, to your Toyota app and your Toyota membership, you'll have Service Connect 2 for 10 years or until the 4G network goes away. And that's going to alert your selected Toyota dealer that there was an issue, and they can call you. Maybe you don't even notice something's going on. They can call you and say, hey, by the way, we wanted to let you know your tire pressure has been low. You want to come in, we can fill you up, stuff like that. So that was a lot. That's the new Speedo Cluster and MID on the Camry LE. I do have a tutorial available for the more advanced Speedo Cluster on your higher end Camrys, which applies, so do check that video out. But this is at the base level. It's a lot of stuff. So far, if you like the video, folks, please consider giving me a subscribe and liking the video. A subscription to the channel makes such a big difference because that lets YouTube know to push my video out to other Toyota people so that they can be helped. All you got to do is click that little subscribe button, give me a like, and it makes a world's difference for not only me, but for other people out there that might benefit from this material. Moving on, let's go to buttons near the shifter. For buttons near the shifter, all Toyotas come with this P button here for the parking brake. This is nothing new. You don't have to push this. Like I mentioned before, you'll see park lit up in red by the speedometer. This will actually deactivate and reactivate on its own. There's no more red light to signify, so what you need to do really, which I like, is just look for park here in red. And I think the reason why Toyota got rid of that red light on the actual park button is because they don't want people looking down. They want people looking over there to see it say park, to see if their parking brake is active. Next is a brake hold button. So if I'm buckled up and I push this button, we get holding green. So the green means that it's actually on, but when it's activated, you see it in yellow. And the yellow means we're ready to take our foot off of the brake while we're in drive. Really convenient for if you have tired feet, injured legs, your ankles hurt, your knees or hips are hurting. And all you gotta do, and it only works in drive, by the way. So you know that when you push the gas, it only goes forward, but you give it a little bit of gas, and it releases, and then once you come to a stop, it re-engages and you can take your foot off the brake again. Really nice feature. The EV mode button will let you force the car to be an EV at the lower speeds, under 30 miles per hour. This will only be able to be activated when the battery has regenerated itself past about 70%. And then of course, just north of those, we have the Eco, Normal, and Sport modes. Eco mode will depower you a little bit and give you better gas mileage. Normal mode is a blend between the two, and Sport mode gives you a boost of torque on that hybrid system. You might lose a couple miles per gallon, but it's going to be a lot more fun to drive. You can operate any of these modes and change them while driving. You can do at any time, and there's no perfect time to do any. You just pick the one you're in the mood for and use it whenever you want. And like I mentioned, the shifter is a regular tried and true old school shifter. If you shift it to the left, you can toggle through simulated gears, forward or back, and you'll see that on the display here. The gears change 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back into drive. That wraps it up for buttons by the shifter. Let's work our way up to climate control and then overhead. For the climate control on the new 2025 Camry, it's a very easy utilitarian climate control. There's no operation on the screen. We have some tabs on the top, and then we got the vents down below here. The hazards button is nice and close to the driver, right next to the push starter button. The auto button here is like the climate control on a central air system in your house, but just so we don't have the air blasting on the camera, I'm going to turn it down here and put it down low so it's not loud. But this will modulate the air direction and the air speed based on the temperature you select. You do get a dual zone climate at the base level, really nice to see. I can turn the system off like this, or I can resume it like that. My front and rear defrost are right next to each other, which makes sense because if I want to see out the front, I will probably want to see out the back as well. And you have the defrosting side mirrors activating with that rear defrost as well, and a nice orange LED that's easy on the eyes to signify that it's active. The temperature change for the driver is right here. I can go up or down, signified by the little red and blue notches. If the passenger wants to change their temperature, they can do so like this. And I can synchronize the two to match each other by hitting the sync button right here. Then I can change the whole car from the driver's side. The fan speed is right over here, right next to its lever. And there's a pop-up display for that. And for the air direction here, which is sometimes listed as mode, there's a pop-up display on the screen as well. Or a banner alert, whatever you like to call it. Going down, we have that passenger temp and the sync that I mentioned, and the last couple buttons are the AC and recirculate, which are really good for the hot days, so that you keep recirculating and cooling air that's already cool, which is super efficient. Nice little green LEDs here, and I like how Toyota has always done the orange LEDs for the defrosting options, which is kind of like a warm color, and then we have the green LEDs here for the cooling and climate options. So the color changing stuff, you know, the color differences really helps you see at a quick glance what type of feature you're operating. This cancels the ventilation in the back. So say you don't want ventilation in the back, your rear passengers are a little chilly or too hot, you can change the ventilation on or off like that. Very easy to use. Now let's work our way to overhead features and wrap up with the screen. For overhead features, we do not have an electronic auto-dimming rearview mirror. It's a simple flipper for when the lights are bright. There is a button on every Camry for the safety connectors. There's a recovery system if you get into an accident, have a medical emergency, or if the vehicle's stolen. Toyota will know the location of the vehicle, and so will the emergency response services. We have the individual lights right over here in LED. A nice glasses case with a soft backing. And for the visors, there's a little slide out for when the sun is in that awkward spot. We're gonna wrap it up with the screen, but I wanna mention one thing. Down in the description below is a link to a separate tutorial on this new software system where I break it down really deep. I'm gonna do a very quick crash course, but I do want you to check out that video. The reason why I have separate videos often for these screens is because they're so in depth that if we do the buttons and the different screens, it becomes an extremely long, overwhelming video. So I like to break it up into chunks. You will see that on some of the newer, more loaded Camrys, I will have to include the separate video for the MID here, but onto the screen. This is the new software system that gives you wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. All you have to do is connect to Bluetooth. When you buy this vehicle brand new, you'll be prompted to download the Toyota app. You'll scan a QR code to get the vehicle on your app, and it will activate your account. Very easy to do. Make sure you sit down with the salesperson when you buy it from the dealer and get that set up right away. So there's a toolbar here on the left. You can do your radio. You can see some car information over here. There's some settings where I can change the date and time. For general here, you can turn the display on and off. You can change different stuff here. Hold on, there it is. So you can kill the display, which is really nice. A couple other features people like. Now remember, there's a separate tutorial on this, but for vehicle customize on the door control, people really like that they can change the way the fob works, and they can even change the volume and the lights when you lock and unlock the car. Super simple stuff. And a lot of Toyotas come with the cloud-based navigation system, which you can pay a subscription for. But I'm trying to keep the video concise. This wraps up the tutorial on the 2025 Toyota Camry LE. All Camrys are hybrid. Let me know what you thought of this tutorial and if it helped you. I hope it gave you a quick peek at what this base model Camry has to offer and what it's like as a possible new owner of the car. If you are an owner of the car, please share down below and let us know what you think about these new Camrys. And like I mentioned before, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. They make all the difference. You guys matter the most to me, especially my supporters and my subscribers. Thank you very much for your love and your kind words. With that said, I will see you in the comments section and in the next video. That's Brian signing out. Peace.